Okay, folks, so wherever you are doing your work, you need to put today's date and you need to put the title Writing as a Character, and then underline both your date and your title. Okay, those of you who are regularly sending me work, I am enjoying seeing those well presented pages from your exercise book, pieces of paper, or the computer work that you're sending me. So thank you very much for those. Okay, so this is what we are doing as a starter activity today. You can draw these as tables, or you can just write the names of the characters in the margin and then write the connecting statement opposite it. Okay, so you don't have to get a ruler out and spend time drawing these boxes. You can put names in the margin or to the right of the margin, and then these opposite. If you're doing whichever way you're doing it, don't write all your characters' names on consecutive lines, because I don't think you're going to have room then, some of you, with the size of your writing, to get the statement in the yellow box next to that. So leave a line in between each of the names if you want to write all of the names out straight away. Okay, each of the names on the left hand side has a corresponding statement about that character on the right hand side in the yellow box. And what you have got to show on your piece of paper, on your piece of work, is that you understand which of these statements belong to which character. How you set that out is up to you. I think that's pretty straightforward. Read through all of the statements in the yellow box before you do it, because I have not always been as obvious with a few of the characters as I might have been, to try and make it more challenging for you to work out which character I'm talking about. Okay, so you get on with this. The answers are on the next slide, so you could just look at that. But again, it's about the process of learning and remembering. The more you do independently, rather than just cheating and looking at my helping screen before you've had a go at yourself, the more you will learn and move forward. Okay? But the next page does give you the answers to this. Okay, onward. And here are the answers. So hopefully you've marked the work that you've done, and you've done quite well. Okay, some of them were more obvious than others, and hopefully you're feeling quite confident that you're understanding these characters from the Crucible, and you've got good recollection about important elements of that character. Okay, so well done you, particularly if you got all of them right. Excellent work and excellent remembering. Okay, right, onward with the start of something new. Okay, this week we're going to, as the title of the video suggests, look at writing as a character. So before we get round to looking and thinking about content of what a character might write, I want to remind you of the need for using different sentence types. Okay, so the three main sentence types that your teacher is going to be looking for are short, simple sentences, longer compound sentences, and then complex sentences. Okay, I don't think I need to go through simple sentences. I've given you 3 examples there in the top pink box. They pretty much explain themselves. A single idea in a short sentence. Compound sentences are where we join 2 ideas together. And both of the ideas are written as main clauses. So the section of each part of that sentence would make sense on its own. But we create a compound sentence by putting a connective in the middle of it to join those two ideas together. So again, I've given you 3 examples, but in the grey box, I've shown you that the 2 sections of my first example, today was the worst day of my life because there was no chocolate in the house, is made up of 2 main clauses. So today was the first day of my life, perfectly acceptable as a sentence. There was no chocolate in the house, perfectly acceptable as a sentence, but we create a compound sentence by putting a connective in between the 2. And here you can see I've used because and so. Okay, so compound sentences, 2 ideas, both ideas would make sense on their own. And finally, you need to be including complex sentences. Now, complex sentences contain 2 or more ideas, but one of the sections of a complex sentence will be a subordinate clause. So that means it does not make sense on its own. If you look at the grey box at the bottom of this section, it says, "It was a gloomy day, so I stepped inside." Makes total sense. And made sure I kept warm and snug. Now that final part of the sentence, and made sure I kept warm and snug, does not make sense on its own. So therefore, this is a complex sentence. It's also a complex sentence because it's got the "so I stayed inside" added near the beginning. Okay, so in essence, I've got 3 sections to my sentence here. It was a gloomy day, I stayed inside, and I did that to keep warm and snug. So simple sentence, 1 idea, normally a very short sentence. Compound sentence, join 2 simple sentences together, putting a connective in the middle. And number 3, complex sentences, which is however many ideas that you like, 2 and beyond, where you then control those different elements of that sentence through using connectives to add your ideas together, and through using punctuation to allow your reader to take a breath and understand the sense of what you are writing much more easily. Okay, so quick reminder there of the fact that in your writing, you need to use different sentence lengths, different sentence structures. Okay, on to the next screen. Right, we need to put our knowledge of simple, compound and complex sentences into practice. So on this screen, you'll see I have given you 2 very different images. One image of rushing water in a stream, in a river, very cold, very fast, very mobile. And in the second image, I've given you an image of fire, which obviously is very hot. It's also quite stationary. The flames dance about upwards and within a certain area, but of course they're not going to be moving. I don't know if you can quite see it, but this is a campfire image that I pinched. Anyway, I would like you to write a simple, compound and complex sentence for each of these images that you could then, if you wished, put together as a paragraph to create a piece of detailed descriptive writing. Okay, so you've got numbers 1, 2 and 3. Number 1 is your simple sentence, number 2 is your compound, or number 3 is your complex. If you want to challenge yourself, you can actually mix those about. You don't have to have your simple sentence first. But otherwise do them in that order. Okay, you complete yours. So pause me and then move on to the next screen. Here are my examples of simple, compound and complex sentence for each of the images. I'm going to read through each one, but not pause between the three different sentence types, so we can get a sense of it as a short paragraph. The sound of rushing water filled the air. The sound was ferocious, and it echoed loudly through the valley. Angrily, the water flowed over the dark grey boulders and headed out to sea. The flames danced. The fire looked alive because the flames danced wildly. As the flames rose higher and the colours became stronger, I knew this was a dangerous place to be. Okay, so one of the things that your teachers are going to be looking for when we get round to doing this piece of writing as a character is they are going to be looking for you including all three of those sentence types. Don't think we don't notice when we mark your work. It's one of the things that we are trained to look for, different sentence types. So using different sentence types will help you to improve your grade. Okay, on to the next screen. Next task before we look at writing as a character is understanding how important sentence starters are. If you continue to start your sentences with the, it, I, he, she, you are never going to reach your writing potential. You must understand that you need a variety of different sentence openers. So the screen that you're looking at is a mind map for sentence starters. Okay, and you're going to create this mind map in your exercise book on a piece of paper. Okay, this is a really useful exercise here. So if you create it on a piece of paper, I want you to make sure that you keep that piece of paper so that we stick it into your exercise books if you don't have your exercise books at home with you. All right, this is an investment of time, this piece of work, and I want you to keep it safe. Okay, so let's have a look at my bubbles around my central sentence starters mind map. So going from 11 o'clock, if you look at 11 o'clock on the screen, that's my adverb bubble, and then I'm going to read around the rest of the bubbles. So adverbs. So we recognise adverbs, and we're going to use adverbs that end with ly as sentence openers. Okay, I've given you two there as a starting point, silently and angrily. Then we go on to connectives. I've given you there two of the higher level connectives, despite and although, and I'm hoping that you'll have a lot of other connectives that you can add to that section of your mind map. Moving round, prepositions. Right, prepositions are our where words. So where is something happening in relation to something else? So compared to you now, where is the ceiling? So the ceiling is obviously above you. Compared to your pencil case, where are your pens, pencils, etc.? They are inside. Okay, so prepositions are our where words. Pronouns, I've given you a lot of these because these are the small words that we use instead of names of people or naming the object. And these are the sort of sentence openers we want to try and steer clear of a lot of the time, because they do become sentence openers that we rely on far too much. And as teachers, we are always seeing he, she, they, it, their, the is another one, but that's not a pronoun. Those common sentence openers, and we need to be thinking every time we start a sentence and checking that we are not using those all of the time. For those of you who like to stretch yourself, I've included that next one underneath my sentence starters bit, similes. So a simile can be a really good way to open a sentence. And again, I've given you 2 examples there. Like a tornado, you might write something like a tornado, the young child blasted through the dense crowd. Okay, so wildly, very fast, very powerfully, this child moves through the crowd. Second example, as quietly as a mouse, the family tiptoed away from the beach. I don't know why they would do that. That was the best example I could come up with at that moment for some reason. Obviously didn't have enough Weetabix for my breakfast. And then our final box, adjectives. So we all know what an adjective is. It's a word which describes a noun. And we can use adjectives at the start of sentences. So large, dark clouds filled the sky. Angry people swarmed through the station. Okay, so what do I want you to do? I would like you to create a mind map for all of these openers on a full page. And I want you to see if you can add at least 10 alternatives to each of the boxes, each of your areas, apart from pronouns. Don't worry about that one. And I do mean at least 10. Okay, so if you've got more great ideas, examples of high-level words, then that'll be fantastic. When we then come to do this piece of writing as a character, you can look back at this sea of fantastic sentence starters that you've created, and you can use that as a resource to help you think, right, I'm going to use a preposition opener now. Ooh, what prepositions could I use? Here's a good one, here's a good one, and here's a good one. Okay, so I am anticipating, because you're not using the pronoun box, you have 5 other areas to complete: adverbs, connectives, prepositions, similes, and adjectives. Now, this is going to take you the rest of today's lesson. To stretch those who need stretching and to support those who might find this task a bit difficult in finding 10 or more examples, the next screen helps with this. Okay, so on the next screen there are other examples of each of these categories. It would be fantastic though, folks, if you had a go at doing your own first before you have a look at mine. Okay, have that sense of achievement that you were able to create a lot of this mind map on your own. And then when you've exhausted your ideas, you can have a look at my screen. But really, you know, why don't you Google adverbs? Why don't you Google prepositions and do that research yourself? The more you do yourself, the more you will remember. The more you just rely on my helping pages, the slower your progress will be. So the page is there to help you, but it is much better if you attempt this work yourself first and then use my page as a last resort, a last support to help you if you're stuck in any areas. Okay, so that is going to be it for today, folks, and I will see you tomorrow.